You bought a bunch of bananas 3 days ago. They were bright yellow, firm, perfect. Today you open the fruit bowl and they are covered in brown spots. The peel is turning black at the ends, and when you peel one to eat it, the flesh is mealy and soft and nothing like what you paid for at the store. You did not do anything wrong. You put them on the counter like you always do. You ate 2 of them and then life happened, and by the time you came back, they were going south on you. This is not a small problem. This is a money problem. A bunch of bananas cost about $1.50. That is not a lot of money individually, but across a year, if you are buying bananas 2 or 3 times a week and throwing half of them away because they went brown before you could eat them, you are looking at $30 or $40 a year in wasted fruit. Per person. In a household of 4, that is $160 a year in bananas that ended up in the trash. That is real money. That is groceries. That is gas in the car. That is something you worked for and the store took from you twice. Once when you bought it and again when you threw it away. And here is the part that really gets me. You did not fail. The system failed you. Because there is a grandmother in Kentucky who has been keeping bananas fresh for 3 weeks, using something she has in her kitchen right now, and it costs absolutely nothing. Nothing. And she learned it from her mother, and her mother learned it from hers, and that method has been sitting in farmhouse kitchens for 100 years, while the grocery stores developed an entire product line to solve the problem they created. If you are someone who wants to stop throwing your money away at the store, if you want to learn what your grandmother knew about keeping food fresh, then you are in exactly the right place. Hit the subscribe button. That is what I need from you, because every week I am going to show you something that the food industry does not want you to know. Something that costs almost nothing. Something that works better than what you are buying. Hit subscribe and stick around. And while you are at it, leave me a comment down below. I want to know what you do with bananas before they go bad. Do you freeze them? Do you make banana bread? Do you just eat them too fast and never have this problem? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one and I respond to as many as I can. Now let us get into it. Let me tell you about my mother-in-law, Opal. Opal was from a generation that did not waste anything. Not because they were frugal by choice, though they were, but because wasting food when you grew up during the Great Depression was not something you did. It was not a value. It was survival. Opal could look at a bunch of bananas and tell you exactly how many days she had before she needed to use them or lose them. She had a system. She never wrote it down because she did not need to. She taught it to me by just doing it in front of me. The way women in her generation taught everything, by showing you rather than telling you. One day I asked her, I said, Opal, how is it that your bananas always last and mine go brown in 3 days? And she looked at me and she said, baby, I am going to show you something your grandmother showed me. And she reached into her kitchen drawer and she pulled out a roll of plastic wrap. That was it. That was the secret. Plastic wrap on the stems. Now, before I explain exactly how she did it, let me explain the science, because I think when you understand why something works, you remember it better and you do it more consistently. Bananas are what we call climacteric fruits. That means they continue to ripen after they are harvested. They do not ripen on the tree and then stop. They keep going. And what drives that ripening process is a gas called ethylene. Ethylene is a colorless, odorless gas that fruits produce naturally as they ripen, and it is the reason that a banana in a paper bag will ripen faster than a banana sitting on an open counter. The bag traps the ethylene and it accelerates the process. Here is what is important. Bananas produce ethylene, but they produce it primarily from the stem. That is the little cap where the banana attaches to the bunch. That is the ethylene factory. Every single banana in a bunch is connected to that stem, and as the bananas ripen, they are all sending ethylene out through that shared stem. So if you have a bunch of bananas sitting on your counter, the stems are all touching each other, and they are all sharing that ethylene gas back and forth, and it is driving the whole bunch to ripen at the same speed, all at once, which means in a few days you have a whole bunch of brown bananas ready all at the same time. Now Opal's trick. She took plastic wrap and she wrapped each individual stem separately. Just took a small piece of plastic wrap, wrapped it around the stem of each banana and sealed it. What that did was it sealed off the ethylene release point. The gas could not escape. The bananas were still ripening, but they were ripening on their own timelines rather than all at once. And here is what she told me. She said wrapping the stems can cut the ethylene release by up to 50%. 50%. That is not a small difference. That is the difference between bananas lasting 3 days and bananas lasting 2 weeks. You can also use aluminum foil instead of plastic wrap. Same principle. Seal the stem. Foil works just as well, and some people prefer it because it is easier to wrap around the curved stem of a banana. Both work. Use whatever you have in your kitchen. That is the beauty of this method. It costs nothing extra because you already have both of those things in your kitchen. Now Opal did one more thing that I want to tell you about. She separated her bananas. Not just the stems. She actually took the bunch apart. She separated each banana from the main stem so they were individual bananas rather than a bunch. Now the reason she did this is because even with the stems wrapped, a banana that is sitting directly against another banana is still sharing some of that ethylene through the contact point. The flesh of a ripe banana touching the flesh of an unripe banana will actually speed up the ripening of the unripe one. So by separating them, she was eliminating that contact transfer entirely. Each banana ripened at its own pace, on its own time, and she could take one at a time as she needed it. Now the temperature question. This is one I get asked about a lot. People hear about keeping bananas in the refrigerator, and they are not sure if that is a good idea or a bad idea. Here is the answer. Bananas do not belong in the refrigerator until they are fully ripe. That is the key. If your bananas are still yellow or mostly yellow, putting them in the refrigerator will cause what is called chilling injury. The cold damages the cell walls of the banana, and what you get is banana peel that turns black, even though the fruit inside might still be okay. It looks terrible. It looks like the banana has gone bad even when it has not, and that is because the cold temperature stops the ripening process in the peel, but not in the flesh. And that mismatch causes the discoloration. The sweet spot for storing bananas that are still ripening is between 58 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. That is a normal room temperature in most homes, which is why a countertop is usually fine for bananas you are going to eat within a few days. But if you want them to last longer, the trick is to keep them in that temperature range and away from other ethylene producers. That brings me to the next point. You need to keep your bananas away from other fruits and vegetables that produce ethylene. This is called cross-contamination, and it is the reason your bananas might be ripening faster than they should, even when you have done everything right with the stems. The most common culprit is apples. Apples produce an enormous amount of ethylene. One apple in a bowl with your bananas can cut their shelf life in half. Avocados also produce a lot of ethylene, which is why if you buy a hard avocado and put it next to your bananas to speed up ripening, you have to be careful. Tomatoes produce ethylene. Stone fruits like peaches and plums produce it. If you have a fruit bowl on your counter that has bananas and apples and avocados all sitting together, your bananas are not going to last no matter what you do with the stems. The solution is simple. Separate them. Keep your bananas in a different location from your ethylene-producing fruits. You do not need a fancy banana hanger. You can just put them on a separate plate on a different counter or on the kitchen table. It is the separation that matters, not the fancy equipment. Now let me tell you what Opal did when she had bananas that were starting to turn. Because Opal, God bless her, never let a banana go to waste, but even she occasionally ended up with bananas that were getting past their prime. What she did with those was she peeled them, cut them into chunks, put them in a Ziploc bag, and froze them flat. She kept those frozen bananas in the freezer, and when she wanted to make banana bread, she would pull out a bag and defrost it and mash it and use it in the batter. Frozen bananas are actually better for banana bread than fresh bananas because the freezing process breaks down some of the cell structure and makes them softer and easier to mash. You get a more moist, more flavorful banana bread. And it cost her nothing extra because those bananas were going in the trash if she had not frozen them. She also made banana mash for pancakes. She would defrost bananas, mash them with a fork, and add them to pancake batter. You cannot taste the banana specifically, but it adds a natural sweetness and moisture that means you use less sugar and less butter in the recipe. $2 worth of bananas that would have been thrown away became a week's worth of pancakes. That is what I am talking about when I say the knowledge is what matters. Now here is where I want to talk about the supermarket thing, because this is the part that makes me angry, and I do not say that lightly. The grocery store industry knows exactly how bananas ripen. They have teams of people whose entire job is to understand fruit ripening and shelf life, and they have designed the entire experience around one principle. They want you to come back often. They want you to buy bananas multiple times a week. They want you to throw half of them away so you buy more. That is not an accident. That is by design. Notice that bananas are always sold in bunches. A bunch, by definition, ripens all at once because they are all connected at the stem. You cannot buy half a bunch of bananas. You get the whole bunch. And because they all ripen together, you have more bananas than you can eat before some of them go bad. The stores do not sell individual bananas in a way that makes economic sense for the average person. You get the bunch, you get them all at once, and you throw away the ones you cannot finish. And then, as if that were not enough, the stores started selling banana storage products. Have you seen these? There are banana savers and banana covers and banana storage bags. Some of them are even marketed as extending banana life. And the thing is, some of them do work a little bit. But here is the catch. They charge you money for them. They charge you $10, $15, $20 for a piece of plastic or fabric that does what a dollar roll of plastic wrap does for free, if you know how to use it. The store is selling you a solution to a problem they created, and they are charging you a premium for it, and they really, really do not want you to know that a piece of plastic wrap from your kitchen drawer does the same job. My mother-in-law, Opal, never bought a banana saver in her life. She did not need to. She had been wrapping banana stems since before most of these products existed, and she taught me the same thing, and I am passing it on to you right now for free. That is what this channel is about. The food industry does not want you to know how to do this. They want you dependent on their products, their packaging, their solutions. I want you to stop needing them. And this is exactly the kind of knowledge that lets you do that. Let me give you a quick summary of the method so you have it clear in your mind. Step 1. When you bring bananas home from the store, separate them. Take the bunch apart. You do not have to do this every time, but if you want them to last as long as possible, separate them. Step 2. Wrap each stem individually. Take a small piece of plastic wrap or aluminum foil and wrap it tightly around the stem of each banana. Make sure it is sealed. Step 3. Store them at room temperature, between 58 and 68 degrees. Do not put them in the refrigerator until they are fully ripe. Step 4. Keep them away from apples, avocados, tomatoes, and other ethylene-producing fruits and vegetables. Step 5. If they start to turn before you can eat them, freeze them. Peel them, cut them into chunks, put them in a zip bag, and freeze them flat. They will keep for at least 3 months, and they are perfect for baking. That is it. That is the whole method. It takes 2 minutes. It costs nothing. And it will keep your bananas fresh for 2 weeks instead of 3 days. I have been doing this for 30 years. I promise you, it works. Now I want to address something before we wrap up. A lot of people ask me, does this really work? Is it really that simple? And I understand the skepticism because the food industry has spent a lot of time and money making you think that food preservation is complicated, that you need their products, that their solutions are superior to what you can do at home. But here is the truth. This method works. It is not a hack or a trick. It is just science that they do not want you to know about. The ethylene gas from the stem is real. Wrapping the stem reduces it. The temperature sensitivity is real. The cross-contamination from other fruits is real. None of this is secret knowledge that some grandmother discovered. It is just botany and physics and basic food science. And once you understand it, you can apply it to bananas and a dozen other fruits in your kitchen. And I think that is worth sitting with for a minute, because the fact that a $1.50 bunch of bananas goes bad in 3 days is not your fault. It is not because you are careless or because you forgot to eat them. It is because the system is designed to make you throw food away. The bunch comes all at once. The stems are connected. They ripen together. You cannot eat them fast enough. You throw them away. You go back to the store. You buy another bunch. And the store makes money, and you feel bad, and nobody ever tells you that the whole thing was engineered to happen that way. I am telling you now. You do not have to accept it. You do not have to keep throwing your money away. A piece of plastic wrap and 5 minutes of your time changes the entire equation. And that is what I want you to take away from this video. Not just the technique, but the understanding that you have been had, and you do not have to be had anymore. That is the gift my mother-in-law Opal gave me, and I am giving it to you right now. If this video was useful to you, if it taught you something you did not know, subscribe. Share this video with your family, with your neighbors, with anyone who buys bananas and gets frustrated when they go brown before they can eat them. I put out a new video every single week, always about food storage, food preservation, and the tricks the industry does not want you to know. Hit subscribe and come back next week. I will have something else for you. And remember, leave me a comment down below. What do you do with bananas before they go bad? Do you freeze them? Do you make banana bread? Do you have a method of your own that your grandmother taught you? I want to hear it. Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. I will see you next time.